Meanwhile, Google's shares closed at an all-time high today, breaking through $900 a share. The stock has risen nearly 50% over the past year. And joining us now from San Francisco with more on Google's strategy and if the stock could break through that $1,000 threshold is AJ Balance. He is head of product development at Gigwalk. AJ, let's get straight into it. Google showcasing a number of innovations today, from the latest Chrome-powered laptops to new software for the Android to its new music streaming service. Which of these innovations do you think is really likely to take off?
It's a great question, Michelle. I think to Mark's point earlier, the most exciting news today was the integration across the entire Google ecosystem that was announced at the conference today. So you're seeing things like messaging across devices, across all your Google accounts, your Gmail, your Android phone, and all of your different experiences with Google. I think that integration is really setting Google up to really increase its user engagement and find new ways to monetize the people who are using its products.
Is it going to continue monetizing through advertising sales? Because right now Google is predominantly a search engine and generates most of its revenue from advertising. Do you think it needs to change this model?
Definitely. I think it's doing two things right now primarily. It's doubling down on building new products that drive users to view more ads. So it's concentrating on that core revenue base while at the same time investing in longer-term projects such as the self-driving car, Google Glass, and other platforms that'll actually hopefully differentiate its revenue base. I do think that is a long-term goal and something they should be focused on.
Well, one thing that it's doing to try and differentiate its revenue base is the all-access music streaming service, which it launched today. It's going to be priced at $9.99 a month if users get it by June 30th, about $7.99 per month. But will it really be a noteworthy competitor to companies like Pandora and Spotify, especially considering it's a lot more expensive than Pandora, which charges about $3.99 a month?
Absolutely. That will be a great test to see what happens there. I think most folks prior to today would have said, no, it won't be a serious competitor. However, I do think there was some very impressed folks in the audience today around how the service is built, how it's integrated, the user experience around the service, and the integration into Google Play. So I do think it poses a much more serious threat to those companies, and I do think companies like Spotify and Pandora will be taking it much more seriously than they probably expected to yesterday.
What about Amazon and Apple? They're also reportedly working on a streaming music service. How crucial is viable music streaming and a subscription service for these companies and their mobile strategy?
Absolutely. I think it is important. I think a lot of the advantage of the smartphone devices that people are using and tablet devices people are using is the consumption of media. And music is one of those types of media that you can consume throughout a lot of your day, passively or actively. And so it is a very important area. It's an area where any of these companies can steal time share of people's time from the other and monetize that, in Google's case, with advertising. So I do think it is an important space.
Well, some disappointment that we didn't get any real gadgets to hold on to. Google Glass generating a lot of buzz, but it's also getting a lot of negative reviews, like that it gives users a headache. And according to a study by Byte Interactive, only 10% of Americans would actually wear Google Glass. Do you think this is going to be the gadget of the future or not so much?
I do think this can be the gadget of the future. I think similar to Android, Google is using its strategy of launch first, learn from their product in the field, and making it better over time. And I think this device, for the first time, puts the internet in front of a user's face all day long. And so it has a lot of applications, I think, that remain to be seen, both in the professional space and in the consumer space. So I do think the initial version is getting a lot of buzz from more tech-savvy users. I do think in the long run, as Google learns what people want from this and what types of applications can be developed for it, it could potentially become the device of the future.
Okay, well, with the addition of Google Glass and all these other services we spoke about, Google's share prices broke through $900 on Wednesday. It's about $84 shy of $1,000 a share. Do you think that the stock has more upside potential?
I do. I think, as you mentioned, Michelle, it's risen 50% or so in the last year. I think a lot of that has been around expectations about Google's capacity to innovate. A lot of
You
people
don't think
this
it
year.
could go the way of Apple?
That's a great question. I think a lot of folks are questioning whether it is the Apple stock of this year, whether it could have a steep decline. I do think there is a lot of strong news coming out of Google, both in terms of the number of users using the platforms, the room for growth in those numbers as well. The central theme of the conference today was 1 billion people around the world are being reached with Google services. There are 5 billion to go. So there is room for growth.
Okay.
The management seems to be investing in that, both on the core products
All right,
and
AJ.
in large future products.
Okay, AJ, we're going to have to leave it there. We're out of time, but thank you so much. AJ Balance, Head of Product Development at Gigwalk.